welcome to another episode of Deep in the Heart. I'm Dane Easley, Mikey Roberts, Earl, and we have our special guest back again today.
Andrew,
I'm back.
Flannagan is back, and he's an expert again. Today we're going to talk about
this one. I'll allow the expert.
There you go, because you do have a whole lot more experience than we do. Today our topic is tips, and tips about tips, whatever we want to do. We're going to talk about tips, things I don't understand.
Dane is of the opinion that if you pull through a drive-thru and they put tip on your ticket, you shouldn't have to pay it.
Listen, my opinion is they shouldn't have to make me feel like I have to pay a tip. Am I paying a tip? So is this?
Where do you think your tip's going when you go through the drive-thru?
Yeah, here's what I think. I think it's keeping them from spitting in my food. That's what I'm thinking in a drive-thru situation. I think it's extortion. I'm being extorted. That's what I think, because they get paid by the hour. And 3 years ago, before COVID, we didn't ever have to worry about tipping them at the drive-thru. So
but you've already got your food.
I don't. No, you pay before they hand you your food.
Yeah, but is it not just sitting there in a bag?
Yeah,
Normally?
Normally, yes. But I still don't know if they don't turn around and spit in it. I don't know. I mean, I know. I'm just kidding. I really am.
Take it off
hang
the
on,
side.
hang on. If you're standing at the window and you hand me my food and you don't even have the courtesy to say when I say thank you and they don't say a word.
Right.
You're saying if they don't say my pleasure, then it's not good enough.
Exactly.
No, I'm not going to say that, but...
No, wait a minute.
Act
Yes,
like
listen,
want.
there's got to be a certain... You've got to be...
Decorum.
Well, an example of courtesy where you deserve extra, okay? And I don't want someone to make me feel bad about not giving them extra because they're doing their job. Well, I don't get a tip at my job. I sit at my desk all day. I put up with some stuff that some people shouldn't have to put up with. I don't get a tip.
Well, hang on. I'm no expert at this. I've never worked in fast food. I've never worked in a restaurant. I mean, I don't know. Andrew has worked.
Right. And
indeed, all of those.
I was about to say, you could call it fast food, but I've never worked in your chain fast food stores, so I don't know how the tip process works there per se. I know how I personally think that it should work as somebody that's worked in several different restaurants, and I believe that by not tipping anybody at the counter, drive-thru, anything like that, you might be taking money out of the hands of somebody else who was better at their job than the person that you dealt with.
Right, exactly. And I totally understand where you're coming from. My deal is, if I go into a sit-down restaurant and I have an interaction with a human being and, they did serve me, it's a lot easier for me to give them a tip, to compensate them for the service. Whereas, and honestly, there's been times I've gone through a drive-thru and I thought, you know what? They were quick. I was able to understand them. They communicated, and they may deserve a tip, but I don't want somebody putting it in my face and saying, "Oh yeah, by the way, why don't you give me a 25% tip on top of you paying $19 for a dadgum hamburger?"
Well, I told y'all this a while ago. Gretchen and I, we're good tippers, and I feel like
I'm good tipper.
That if you don't let my drink get empty and my food comes out, and they're very, very courteous and thoughtful and become friends, so to speak, at that table, then they deserve a good tip. Right. I never thought, ever in my life that I would give a tip at a fast food restaurant. But, like I told you a while ago, I never put it into perspective that there's somebody back there that's doing something.
Right. There should be, if a tip is exchanged, it should be, again, in my opinion, I don't know that all restaurants of any kind, fast food or otherwise, work this way. But in my opinion, anybody that handles anything to do with your food should be involved with the tip.
If you decide to give a tip.
Right.
But it shouldn't be expected, is what I'm saying.
Okay. But you expect your food to come out a certain way.
Right.
Okay. So are you going to tip based on whether or not it comes out to your expectations,
Right.
or to the expectations that are given to you?
Okay, to my expectations.
To your expectations.
That's
So-
how you get a tip, because you're providing a service.
So when you go to McDonald's and you get a burger, do you expect it to look like the commercials?
No.
Okay.
But I expect if I
So-
say no mayonnaise, it better not have mayonnaise on it, or it's
Yes.
coming back through that window.
Fair enough. But if it comes out right like that,
Yeah.
and it comes out looking like it does in the commercials, you can tip them?
I don't
Are you
know.
going to tip more then?
I have no idea, because I've never,
Well,
I've
'Cause
never
you've never gotten
experienced that.
Here's the thing that really has, just in this short amount of time we've been talking about this, is you go to work every day and you're paid every Tuesday or Wednesday or whenever. I don't know when it goes to your bank. Whether you do a good week's work or whether you do a bad week's work,
Right.
you get the same pay.
Yes.
But those people go to work, and most of those waitresses or waiters don't get paid very much per hour.
Right.
So, there's days that they'll have a bad day, but that doesn't mean they're a bad person. And for somebody to walk off and not tip them at all, I feel like that's just cheap.
Listen, if I'm in a sit-down restaurant, I have no problem paying for service. I absolutely do not have a problem. My deal is going through a drive-through, okay? First of all, I don't see the conditions of the kitchen, okay? It's unbeknownst to me. All I have is the interaction with the person that took my order. Were they courteous? Did they speak plainly? Did we understand one another? Am I getting what I asked for and paying for? Those are conditions of a tip. I don't know until I open the bag up. Why are you pushing this in my face?
So let me ask you this: if you and I'm with Andrew on this, and if you got your bag, so like you pay back at the first window,
Right.
So if you get your bag and you go out and you look in, you go, okay, everything's in there, drinks are here, this is great. Here's your tip because that was good.
Right.
Would you do that?
I would. I really would. If they weren't trying to herd me through there like a cow, I'm serious. If they gave me an opportunity to survey everything that I had, but that's what I'm saying. You can't sit there and expect something for nothing. Okay? If you're just doing your job, just like I do my job, you said, some days I'm excellent, some days I might not be excellent, some days I might not be spot on. I don't get a tip either way, but I do get a paycheck every single day. They get a paycheck every single day.
So, Andrew, let me ask you this.
But they also have an opportunity to do better by being
If they paid McDonald's employees, I don't know, they would probably make $10, $12 an hour.
Something like that.
It's like Dane, he doesn't get tips. And you don't get, I don't know, some people get a percentage of what they make or what they sell or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think if they lowered the hourly rate to, say, McDonald's, do you think that they would deserve more of a tip? Because
Wait.
we all grew up. McDonald's was a part-time, get you through
Entry level
job.
Right. It's not a career.
But there are also
It's a stepping
jobs.
stone.
There are also jobs like that that are advertised as minimum wage when
Right.
they're not.
Yeah.
They're just not. Waiters and waitresses, even at good restaurants,
Yes.
don't start off at minimum wage because it's considered part of their paycheck.
And that's not part of this debate, in my opinion.
Okay.
A sit-down restaurant, and I do understand. My sister waited tables, and I don't know how she didn't kill people because she was one of the meanest. Growing up, the only girl that was meaner than her was my older sister, and that's just to me. But I don't know how anybody ever lived through it if they were hateful or ugly. But she made a living as a waitress, and I respected that. And I always take that into consideration.
Okay. Flip your perspective a little bit. So we're predominantly talking about drive-thrus at McDonald's,
Yeah.
places like that.
Yeah.
How many people do you think they got to deal with on a daily basis
No, I
that
know.
act worse than those people at those sit-down
And
restaurants?
I guarantee they're probably
so tired of
where
seeing people's faces on a daily basis that they're like, "Oh, just get me through."
That's probably where some of the
hatred comes from.
I don't even know if it's
No,
hatred.
I'm
It's just like
glad that we had
disgust.
this conversation because I never looked at it the way you're explaining it because I'm not part of food industry, and I never thought about those people. How many times they walk to that window every day, and
Okay.
how many people they have to interact with that are turds.
Yeah.
Seriously.
But it's the same in the medical industry. Do you tip your nurse? Do you tip your nurse? How many people do you think? Because my wife's a nurse, I know from experience
Well, I mean, it's a
that
different
she
industry.
deals with all different kinds of people every single day. But there's no more incentive for her to be nice and ooze sweetness and wonderful all day every day. But you're going to give that to the person at the drive-thru when you don't give that same courtesy to the person who's taking care of your health and your life. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Right. Well, and
It's
that's
your
what-
job.
That's
Do your
what-
job.
Well, I mean, you're right. Nurses don't have to be not, and Lord knows there are some nurses that are not sweet
Yes.
beings
No,
to
but
their
mine
patients.
is.
Probably,
I'm
But
mine
probably
is
for
very
that
sweet.
reason. It's probably for the reason. I'm not bashing any nurses that are stern, because some of them have to be like.
Yeah.
But it's still. I'm with Mikey on this. That's not a tip driven industry.
Right? No, it's
Like,
not.
That and
If
the
you-
pay disparity is far cry different.
How do you know? I mean, because some of them some of them LVNs start out $15 an hour. You got people I know for a fact that work at Chick-fil-A, for example. They're going to make $16, $17 an hour.
But
But
their
it's-
expectations for service is higher.
Yes.
Their standards, and if they don't meet those standards, they get fired.
Exactly.
It's not just that they don't get the tip; they get fired.
Okay. And why can't we have that as and as an example for everybody else?
It is the example for everybody else.
No,
In the
no.
fast food industry, in my opinion, that is the example for service.
Right.
It's Chick-fil-A.
Yes. And-
You're right.
And that starts up high. Like,
Right.
I've seen the Chick-fil-A, I haven't seen it, but I've seen the book that it comes in,
But
the
what you
management
said
and
is-
leadership.
it
Yes.
starts up high. But
Oh,
there's something else you can say though about Chick-fil-A and why the standards. Go eat there on Sunday.
Okay. But I mean,
the
if it's-
standards are different.
Exactly. But
absolutely.
and tolerance. Okay, there's another thing that needs to be interjected into the conversation. We tolerate it. Okay. Before COVID, I never, ever, ever considered tipping someone for doing their job. Okay. Now it's come to the point where it's an expectation. How much do I tolerate that? Because if the service doesn't get any better, if you haven't gone above and beyond, in my opinion, you're not deserving of
Would you
something that
say
you're
that-
asking me for.
Would you say that a hairdresser is a tip-driven industry?
I tip. I will tip my hairdresser if she'll take it.
She won't take it.
She won't have the time.
Maybe you ought to rough her up a little bit.
I'm going to have to. Next time I think I won't have to.
So that's
But
what
hey, dude, she runs from me. But I want her to know I appreciate it, and I always. If I don't give her a tip, I will say thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm courteous,
You know, because they have to sit and listen to people all day grinding.
and they
out.
get the goods on everybody,
Yeah.
man. The dirt. I'm telling you.
What about a
That's
valet? What do
good
you
and
think
bad.
about valet?
Valet?
Yeah.
Oh man, you pulling at my heartstrings. It was a fun job. I did valet. I was down in Galveston for 3.5 months, working at a hotel down there as a valet, and that goes back to the pay discrepancy. Like, we worked for tips.
Yes.
Our base salary was lower than minimum wage,
Right.
and there was an assumed tip amount. So if we got our tips, and whatever extra, that was great.
Okay, well, who did you have to share those tips with?
Those tips were direct.
exactly.
So
because
then-
I'm the only person that deals with
Okay.
the car,
Right.
Okay.
depending on
But-
when I get the ticket.
This is an opportunity to educate people, also, because there are those people who don't agree that someone who valets a car deserves a tip. Especially someone that just paid $30 for parking. And then you're going to pull into the hotel and you're going to pay another $30 to have your car parked. Well, golly, I'm out $60, and I mean that's how
But
these
I
people feel.
thought, I
But-
thought that valet, you paid for valet. You didn't pay for parking. You're paying the valet.
No, I'm talking about I was downtown.
You're paying for parking.
Anywhere.
Is essentially what you're paying for. You're paying not only for somebody to go and get your car, you're paying for a parking spot that you probably don't have to go to once while you're there.
I'm saying I just came from the game, the Astros, and I drive over to the hotel. Okay, at the Astros, I had to pay $40 to park the stupid car. Then I'm going to drive to the hotel, and I have to pay the valet, or I have to pay for parking either way. I'll pay the valet. I don't mind because I like them to pick up my car and bring my car to me, so I don't have to sit there and try to figure out where in the heck my car is in this
At your age,
complex.
you're going to lose sight of it.
Dude, I'm telling you,
But do
man.
you feel like that you pay when they take it and when they bring it, or do you feel like that you pay one time?
It just depends. If it's the same guy, I'll pay once. If it's not the same guy,
Okay. What if it's the same guy, but okay, so let's say you take your car up, let's say you're just going to a restaurant for valet.
Yeah.
Okay. What all do you take into account when you say, all right, I'm going to tip my guy $2 or I'm going to tip him $10?
Right.
What do you take into account when you decide those numbers?
well, let's look and see how many miles are on the car when we get back in it.
So it's a Ferris Bueller
You say, listen, I saw my car in that parade and I don't appreciate it.
I don't, and honestly, that's all stuff, I guess, experience. It really just depends on the situation. When we stayed at the Adolphus, valet there was no other option. Okay, you couldn't park your car. You had to pay for valet. In that instance, I know that their expectations are X. If there's an opportunity to valet or an opportunity to park myself, it just depends. It's at my discretion. But I need to understand where they're coming from. They're getting paid $2.50 an hour. Oh, and then everything else is, the rest of their salary is based off of tips. Yeah, I'm gonna say, okay, this guy hustled out here. He helped us with this. He did that. He did this. He put my seat back whenever I got back into the car. Everything's still in my car. It's not stolen. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give the guy a tip because he did me a service, a courtesy, and I appreciate that. But I'm not gonna sit here and say this guy comes up to me and goes, "All right, that's $25." Okay,
I've never
that's
known
8 seconds.
that.
No, I know, but it does in the drive-through. That's the point I'm trying to make. They send the deal out there and they say, "You're not gonna leave a tip."
Okay, I got a question for you. You go to a good sit-down restaurant, and you leave a good tip for the waitress.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about her having to share those tips with
Honestly,
the other people in there?
if she's sharing with the dishwasher, I appreciate that. Just because the only other job that I ever had was as a dishwasher, and it sucked.
What about
Did
what
you
about
get
the
tips
cook?
when you were a dishwasher?
No, I did not.
No.
And it sucked. I made $4 an hour. That's how long ago it was.
Well, what about the cook? Do you think she should share it with the cook?
I don't know. It depends on if the food was good.
Well, Andrew's an expert.
I was about to say, I really believe that. So, and you're also going to get pay discrepancies there because the dishwasher is going to be probably making more money than the waiter or waitress, depending on tips.
Needs it. Deserves it. In my experience.
The cook or cooks plural, again, depends on the kind of restaurant you're at.
Right.
The cook is going to get paid more than both of them because their job is more
skilled.
Yes, it has to be almost exact every single time in order to not, kill somebody or get them deathly sick.
Or to have people come back. I mean,
That also.
honestly, if you don't have a good cook, people aren't going to come back to the restaurant.
Or good waitresses.
Right.
Or waiters.
Yeah.
What do you think about this, Andrew?
Service?
If you had a tip jar and your money, even if you put it on the table, the whole thing went to that tip jar, and at the end of the night they divided up all those tips to the waitresses or the waiters or whatever.
Okay. So in my limited but also extensive experience, I have had the opportunity to see that kind of play out because at the last restaurant that I worked at, we had a tip jar. It was a walkthrough where we didn't really wait tables. We would pick up after people if they left stuff on the table. We had trash cans out. So there was an opportunity to put your own trash away. Did it always happen? No, of course not.
Right.
Because why would you throw your own trash away? But anyway, so they would put tips in the tip jar and we would all split. every person got an even tip, no matter what your pay discrepancy was. And that was not my policy. I wanted it to be different, but that was the policy that we had. Now,
because you're a capitalist, obviously, because that's socialism right there.
But there were instances where I love the service industry, and I think very highly of the people that do a good job with waiting tables or even just standing at the counter taking orders. I think if you give high-end service, then you deserve to be rewarded for your service.
I agree.
And there were instances where I would deal with specific people, and they would come to me and say, "This is for you."
Right.
That is different because that is somebody recognizing what you're doing.
Yes.
As an individual.
As a standout.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's what I'm saying, though. It's the courtesy is what you're paying for in service industry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Someone has to be courteous. Someone has to be able to communicate. There are things that make you good and stand out.
But
you
if
said,
they
well,
aren't,
yes,
if
they'll
they
bring
aren't,
you down.
Are you going to not put money in the tip jar knowing that it goes to everybody, not just them?
Okay, that's my deal. There's a punishment. Okay, there's a consequence for that behavior, and in my opinion, that's when the soap and pillowcases come in and they take care of the problem. Okay, because socialism, people will take advantage. Okay, when they know, no matter what I do, if I spit in this guy's sandwich, if I cuss this person out, if I tell them this or that or whatever, there's 3 other people that are being excellent and deserving of
But you know what's going to happen by what you just said right there is those other people are going to see that, and it's going to bring the whole restaurant down.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you'll be shutting the doors on it. So at that point, the people that are giving the good service need to go to whoever and say, they got to go.
Exactly. I mean, but so what I'm saying is you can't sit there and have a leech. You can't sit there and have, someone sucking all of the good out of the operation. And that's
So what you're saying is like a relay race. Everybody's got to do their share, their part.
Yes. Or just like you said, I think that one person could bring the whole operation down because it's going to be resentment from the people that are doing excellent work. They're going to say, "Oh, all that tip, I had to split it with Claudine, and she sucks. I mean, she can't even come to work on time. She spends half her time on the phone or in the bathroom or whatever, and we're sitting here doing all this work, and we still have to split it with her."
That sounded pretty personal.
Yeah, well, you get rid of Claudine.
Do you know Claudine?
I know
It
her.
sounds like you know Claudine.
No, I'm just. I've seen Claudine, and I don't know if their names are Claudine or what, but I've seen them.
I don't know. You got pretty specific.
Yeah,
Well, how many people do you know are named Claudine?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know any. I don't know
several
any.
this
So I
time.
was using a generic name
What
to save.
So the jar process did its job, but do you think that my service, when somebody came to me and personally said, "Here, this is for you," do you think that brought everybody up?
It could have if they witnessed it, or if you were braggadocious and said, "Hey, I got a little bit extra because I'm a good guy."
I don't, because that's personal with you, and I don't think that you're going to tell them.
Right.
Or would you?
Would I?
Would you?
I mean, would you in a situation like that?
Probably not.
If you're trying to bring
say.
Claudine up to your level, I mean, you might have to.
But
You might have
does
to
it
promote?
does it bring her up to your level, or does it just promote resentment
Well,
I think
it may do it.
and
That's
just
what I'm
make her
saying.
do worse?
It's
Well,
a personality thing.
You're like, well, he's doing all the work. I don't have to do
Here's the
anything.
way I see it.
Yeah, but
If
he's
you
getting
tell
all the
her-
benefit too. The incentive is on you at that point. I mean, you've been incentivized. Yeah, she's going to get her little bit, but she's not getting any extra. There's a perfect
if I go
example
in-
of capitalism.
If I go in and I'm braggadocious about it, and she goes, well, he doesn't have to, that automatically pulls down my incentive. So what incentive do I have to go in there and show her that I got extra money?
You don't. I was just making a point.
Do you think that if you showed that money, do you think that it would entice her to do more?
I think it depends
On the person.
to do more.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the person.
Exactly.
Because there are people in this world, and that's what I think the whole argument boils down to. There are people in the world that just do not care.
Right.
And they will not care, no matter how much they're incentivized, no matter how much they're punished. They won't care.
What would make a person that's got that personality choose a tip-driven industry?
Couldn't get anywhere else.
Pot. That's from a previous conversation.
That's not what we're talking about on this one.
No.
So you're saying the pot smokers don't get good tips? Are we going back to that?
And back to square one.
Yep.
But
Full circle.
I was about to say, in short, like that is, for whatever reason, that's been deemed like the lowest quality is the fast food service industry.
Right.
And so people who can't do other things have to do that because they'll hire anybody,
Right.
is what we've been taught. And that's why we get these people at those kind of places.
You know,
Yeah, but
And when you see that stand out, you're like, oh man, like they're not going to be here long. That's what all of us think.
right.
And that's what I think every time. Like when I was a manager at one of the restaurants, a general manager, and part of my job was to find new employees.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the way we were taught to do that was to go eat places and steal them away,
Right.
poach them.
because that's what happens.
Yeah.
You go into a Taco Bell, and the guy in the drive-thru is the nicest human being you've ever met in your life. He says how many packets you need, not only what kind of sauce do you need, how many do you want,
Right.
do you need a little bit extra just for this, and just ask you all the questions, make sure everything is perfect.
It's personality traits that
Mhm.
you are looking for. You're identifying talent. And I agree with that 100%. And I do agree that
And that's why they're not in the fast food industry.
Well, I'll tell you
But
this:
it goes
we're
just
really going to see how that is, because we know the quality of service that they have at Chick-fil-A.
Mhm.
We're getting one.
I know.
You're
We're
going
gonna
to see who those people are, because they're going to be at that restaurant,
Right.
because
they're going to attract them
they're going to attract them.
because they offer more,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But they also offer expectations. That's where the limits are on the other fast food places, because they don't have any expectations. They say, you're going to come in here, you're going to make $11 an hour, and we're satisfied with whatever you give us, because all we want is
As
one
long as
body.
you show up
Exactly.
not even on time most of the time.
If you're
Right.
here,
If you're here,
Here. And
if
that's
you're here and you're able to do this, here.
that's the
Have a good
problem.
day.
That's the problem. That
Not
I
even
think
that.
is not
They're just
deserving.
hand it out. I mean, sometimes they don't even have a smile on their face.
Right.
But
Sometimes they're not speaking where you can understand them. And I'm not talking about a different language. I'm talking about
different language.
Yeah, the mumblers.
you just
Speaking of a different language.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
What are you saying?
got a little
Language.
excited.
I'm sorry, I did get a little excited because this is personal to me. I cannot stand someone that cannot look you in the eye and mumbles.
Well-
especially if they're working in an industry that is a service industry.
But I think that's where you're going to see our opinions are going to be off a little bit, because I don't even necessarily think that that's part of where they're working.
Right.
I think that, y'all are of a more experienced generation
Mature.
than I.
You're saying more about
And-
cultural.
Yes, absolutely. I think that it's part of the way that the world is working now, and that's something that we're gonna have to deal with, and we, not you, we are gonna have to figure out is how do we tip those kinds of people that don't know, because
Right.
you're punishing them for something they don't know.
Exactly. So there you go. What is a tip in 2023? What is adequate for that? Okay? Because here's the deal. It's all about incentive. I'm going to incentivize you, young lady, if you want a tip, to speak clearly. Speak, where I can understand you, and let's articulate your message. What's your message to me? Well, you purchase this. You can expect this in a timely manner. Blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I will pay a tip for that. But this, I'm not
But
giving
do
them
you
nothing.
tell her that?
Yeah, and I did.
Do you?
I
Okay.
did. I told her. I said,
Because most people won't. They'll just
Well,
be
I
silent
know,
about
but
it.
then the people behind you get upset because they're worried that she's going to
Well,
spit in their
they're in the
food
car
too.
behind
All right, let's wrap this up. Okay, what do y'all think a good percentage, a tip percentage is?
Like a base percentage or
Just a percentage.
just a percentage?
One
I
of the things
typically-
I've always done is taken the tax and doubled the tax, and there you go.
Yeah. Okay.
That's just for standard service.
That's about 16% or 17%.
I was about to say my baseline is 20% for doing your job.
Right.
Nothing more, nothing less.
I'm
Your
right
job.
there at 20%, but I will pay as much as 30 to 50% if they are excellent.
All right, now then, valet. What percent do you give
I don't know,
on the drop off? Do you give a different percent on the pickup?
I don't know because I'm always so uncomfortable in that situation because you just never know.
Well,
It's also always in cash. So
yeah, I know.
we have our valet here, so
man,
What would you expect?
I can tell you this much. I got as little as $0 and I got as much as a putter as a tip. And I don't even think I took that guy's car. I think I was just being nice. So, and it was a nice putter. But I still have it.
so we're saying 17% is just a standard tip for food service, and do you say 17% for valet?
Man, it's hard with valet because, and I'll put
It's
it in
a percentage
perspective.
of what?
I'll put it in perspective for you because there's the valet guys that are nice, courteous, well spoken, and they sprint to your car.
Right.
Okay. And I'll say that there's not really a fixed percent for me personally because I've seen guys that sprint from me to 10 feet away and get my car and pull it to the,
Yeah.
And for that, I'm like, okay, well, like, yes, you were nice. You did a good job. Here's $4 or $5.
I'm glad you said that because I was in Fort Worth one time and it had snowed. And we had a brand new car. And the guy had to run a half a block to get the car. I gave him a $25 tip because I'm like, he'd come up,
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I saw you. And my car doesn't have a dent in it or anything else like that. And there was ice on the road and snow.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate
He
it.
deserves a higher tip.
Especially with the way cars cost these days, $100,000 for a dadgum Yugo. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, and that's the place that I worked in Galveston. The front driveway, which is where the valet was, because guest parking, we did offer free guest parking, was behind the building.
Right.
So if you wanted to do that for free, go for it. You get to go in the back door and go all the way up.
Yeah.
But if you want a valet parking, your car was going to be on the front parking lot. It was going to be where everybody on the boulevard could see it, on the seawall could see it, and it was going to be where, there's a security person walking around more often than not.
Yeah.
And the only problem was that the driveway was a little U-shaped, and it was up about a 80 degree hill.
So you had to be in
So
good shape.
every time you took a car down or brought one up, you had to go up or downhill.
Yeah.
And so it was a haul. It didn't matter if it was 20 feet that way. It was 20 feet that way.
Yeah.
So we'll just go with 20%.
Sure.
Both directions.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that was good. We want to thank Andrew for being with us
Again. Yeah.
Again.
Appreciate your perspective, a different perspective.
It was a good perspective on a different topic.
Had a great time
Yeah.
talking about tips.
Yeah. Well, and it's all about opinions here anyway. And again, I think it's something that's relevant that everybody has an opinion about, and I'm happy to be able to contribute to the conversation.
Yeah, me
I'm
too.
happy you were able to
I was
contribute
about to say,
too.
I think the bottom line is that we need to teach our service industry, kids, young adults, whatever, how to get the tips.
Right. And by withholding and not explaining, I think that probably doesn't teach anybody anything but some resentment.
Mm-hmm.
And we all just need to do a better job of being better examples and witnesses. I mean, a lot of times we apply...
you kind of get what you give or
Yeah.
give what you get,
But if you think about it from a biblical perspective, I'm pretty sure Jesus would have educated someone.
Yeah.
We just need to do a better job of being able to educate.
All right, well, everybody go and watch this and give us some suggestions and
feedback.
Give us all the feedback you can give us, and thank you. We'll see you next week.